When I awoke the next morning, I found the house to be empty. It was strange. I seriously doubt that my family would leave for my aunt's house without waking me up on Christmas morning. Something wasn't right. All the miscellaneously placed pictures of me, those were on the wall and hearth, were gone. All the other photos were in place. Another thing that struck me odd was the fact that there were no gifts. Just that. Just last night, they were maliciously put under the tree this morning. What the hell? I thought to myself. Everything is gone. Even the shit I left for my parents. Just then, I heard a low, guttural growl that made me particularly jump out of my skin. I quickly turned on my head to see my dog with his baring teeth in a semi-defense position. She stared at me with a terrified look in her eyes as she growled. I took a step forward and she ran to the other room as fast as she could. She did leave a nice piss stain on the carpet though. Shit, I uttered under my breath. Something definitely isn't right. I walked through my house and everything was a mess. Tables and chairs were turned over and lamps were even smashed. It looks as if a tornado went through all the place. I felt like shit. I guess I had a good analogy that would be I left the house as it looked. I felt as if cement truck had just punched me in the gut. I went upstairs to the bathroom and washed myself. The smell of cigarette smoke and cheap booze filled the air and I wondered what was going on. In the bathroom, I looked in the mirror and I must say I looked like a picture of the living dead. It was white as friggin' sour cream. My pupils were dilated to a size I never thought was natural. It was almost as if my eyes themselves were black, quite disconcerted. I then walked back through the house at a slow pace, taking my time. I noticed that my father's black suit and tie were missing. That shouldn't be anything disturbing to me. But for some reason, I couldn't shake the bad feeling of what was coming from deep within my gut. As I walked down the stairs, I looked out the window and noticed that my dad's black Cadillac Converti was missing from the driveway. So was my mom's Chrysler 300C. I was pissed that they would just leave me alone like this. Whatever, it was only 3 miles to my aunt's house. I put on my jacket and walked out of the door quietly, being careful not to scare my dog more than she already was. It was a cold day, which was to be expected on the late December day of Capitol Hill, Boston, Massachusetts. There was a mass of people of congregated ground in the junction, around 3 blocks away from my house. I couldn't make out any details, but I could see the outline of a black car, and I had hit the side of the two-family house. The front of the car was inside the damn living room. I had a natural aversion to things like that, so despite being worried about the driver and political passengers, I kept moving. Nothing else seemed to be out of the ordinary on my walk, just your typical Boston good morning, which was a good bump in the shoulder and any several establishment cusses. I arrived at my aunt's house about 2 hours after setting off. Yes, I took my sweet time. Looking in the window, I could see several family members, nuclear family included, huddled around the table. I was mad as hell, but when I got a good hard look at everyone inside, all of them had somber looks on their faces. Such a joyous holiday. Each person also had a black suit or dress on. By then my anger had faded as I quietly walked through the door as opposed to bursting it through, which was what I wanted to do that at first. As soon as my foot crossed the threshold, a bright light enveloped me. I felt as if I was drowning in light when everything went dark. When I came to, I walked out of my room as there was still nothing under the tree. Both cars were still gone. I was more confused than when I woke up this morning. There was no way my parents would have brought me here and left me to go back to my aunt's house, so I decided to go back. Once again, I put my jacket and left the house. I remembered that there about 3 blocks away there was an accident, so I figured I wouldn't be such a chicken at this time and check it out. The crowd was gone, and there was only 2 squad cars. One was at the corner and the other was at the right, next to the crashed car. I walked right up to the car, was disturbed by the fact of that the cop, eating out a donut and reading the Boston Globe, didn't even take notice of my presence despite the fact that I walked right by them. I dreaded looking in for the car, and I hesitated for a few moments. I wasn't going to let myself just walk away, even though I felt that I was going to throw up. I bent over and saw horrified was a bloody pulp of a man that looked just like me pinned to the seat by the dashboard. Blood continued to roll down his forehead. His hands were clutched to the steering wheel, white-knuckled, and a look of horror was spread across his face. Rigor mortis is such a beautiful thing. In the distance, I saw an ambulance cruising towards the car with lights flashing and around the speakers, occasionally letting out a beep or two. In a state of disbelief, I rushed back to the car, only to be greeted by a Cadillac Lenzina. I rushed over to the squad car and started yelling at the cop, hoping to get a response. None came. I ran to a nearby driveway and picked up pebbles and started throwing them at the cop's window. He suddenly sat up in alert, and he turned his head in my direction. With a quizzical look on his face, he turned his head away, as if he didn't see me, and went back to his donuts. And the morning paper. I ran as fast as I could, but I only got a few feet when I tripped on something. As if I hit the ground, there was a bright white light. Exactly like one from before, came over me again. It all came back to me in a flash, pulling out of the driveway, running through the red light, worried that I would be late, getting T-boned by a damn car, shielding my face with my hands from the shattered glass, trying to desperately gain control of the car again, going through a wall with two family, being pinned to my seat in the dashboard, and finally choking up on my own blood as it welled up in my lungs. When I woke up this afternoon, I found the house to be empty. It was strange. I seriously doubt my family would leave me asleep when they went to my aunt's house on Christmas Day. Something wasn't right. All the miscellaneously misplaced pictures were off the walls, and the hearth were gone. All other photos were in place. Another thing that struck me was odd was that there were no gifts that just last night were miraculously put under the tree this morning. And that, my little pretties, was no gifts this year. A Christmas creepypasta. My final thoughts on this story? Alright, so I was looking at this story I think not too long ago. I looked at this story, I think, last week, and it's actually a pretty good story. I've heard of this narration from Sir Horror. I've heard of this narration from Creepypasta, Lady White Rabbit. I mean, a couple other people have narrated this creepypasta, and I actually have heard a couple creepypasta narrations from this story, and I have to say it's a pretty good, well-made story for what this is. I like the fact that the story itself had a pretty good concept for what it is. I like how the grammar was, as well as the sentence structuring, the storyline. Everything about this story was just flat out amazing. I really enjoyed how beautifully well made that this creepypasta was. And to be honest, I honestly really found this story to be flat out amazing. The grammar of its own self was pretty good for especially the sentence structuring, the storyline. Everything about this story just flowed out perfectly. Basically, from information I can get, it's about somebody waking up to realizing that there's no presents and ends up walking around the place to find out what's going on in that. It's pretty freaky, but at the same time, this story basically is about the protagonist being a ghost, as he died in a car accident, so he is a ghost and is on this loop. It's pretty interesting, to be honest. So, it's actually a really good story for what this is. To be completely fair, I really found this story to be, enjoyable for my liking. Yes, there are other Christmas creepypastas that did pretty good too, but this one honestly was one of my favorites. I know there's a few other ones that took the cake, but This one was pretty good too. I'm not going to deny that one bit. Most of these pastas were pretty good and well made for what they were. I mean, it's beautifully well written. Like, the sentence structure of this story was good, as well as the good grammar. And I honestly found this one to be enjoyable. It's a very enjoyable story. It was definitely well made. It's definitely worth a shot if you guys want to check out the movie. Well, not movie, but if you want to check out the story, this is on the regular Creepypasta Wiki, and I recommend you guys go check out this story if you want to read some good Christmas creepypastas. I mean, I know there's some other good Christmas creepypastas, but this one honestly works pretty good. I mean, it's messed up and all that. I'm not going to deny that one bit, but it's still a pretty good story for how this really was. I mean, it's beautiful, it's well made in detail, and it's pretty epic. So, I definitely have to say it's a really good story, and I honestly found this story to be, pretty good. The one thing I would have to say was that what how did the presents disappear? I think it most likely that the parents gone out or something. I'm not really sure, to be completely honest. It actually is pretty surprising. I mean, yes, there might have been a few parts of the story that didn't really make a whole lot of sense. Well, not really a whole lot of sense at times, but there were parts of it that kind of confused me a bit until I can put pieces together to what actually happened. I mean, it's pretty good though, to be honest. I still found this story to be a very enjoyable creepypasta. I mean, if you guys want to read some Christmas creepypastas, I recommend you check out this one. And I will guarantee you now, you will not be disappointed by this story. Now, anyways, with that being the case, that being said, I'm going to sit here and say this now. Like I'm going to say, it's just simply my own personal opinion, and if you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions in regards to these creepypastas, and this is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of the story would have to be a 10 out of 10. And it's a very good, enjoyable creepypasta. It's definitely well made. It's definitely worth checking out and reading. It's beautiful, well made. The grammar is fantastic. I mean, yeah, there were parts of the story that didn't make a whole lot of sense, but at the same time, it's still a pretty good story, though, regardless. It's still a pretty good story. Definitely is worth reading. And I definitely recommend you guys check out this story if you haven't. So, I don't seem to find out who the original author of this story is, as I can't seem to find the original author. So, if the author of the story manages to find this video, and manages to comment and let me know if he or she was the one who wrote the story, I'll be sure to sit there and give him or her proper credit. I'll be sure to edit the description on, to let you guys know who wrote the story, if I ever do find the original author, that is. Now, anyways, what did you guys think about this creepypasta? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better, feel free to leave me now what your thoughts are down in the comments below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode, and if you're brand new here to this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro, because I'm out.